Welcome to Sports CTO Talks. In this series, we would be connecting with industry leaders in the sports industry, where we will simplify sports and technology for you. I am Ami, your guide on this journey through amazing minds in the industry who would be talking about sports and technology. We will dive deep into discussions who are driving the industry. From AI to cloud, from cybersecurity to sustainability. If it is sports tech, we are talking about it. Today, we have an interesting guest with us, Mr. Axel Helisten. He, he is the co-founder and CEO of 358 Sports Management, who has seamlessly blended his athletic background with extensive experience in the business world. A former junior tennis player turned entrepreneur, Axel blends his athletic background with over a decade of business leadership. He has built and scaled companies, leading from zero to hundreds of millions in revenue within few years. His high work ethics, tenacity, and global network in both sports and business fuel his approach to strategic growth, partnerships, and athlete success. 358 Sports Management is headquartered in Finland, is an innovative agency redefining professionalism in athlete representation. Excel leads a team dedicated to providing top-tier, personalized athlete representation while forging strong collaborations with national and international sports organizations. With a passion for excellence and innovation, he is shaping the future of sports management and talent development worldwide. Today, in this podcast, he would be talking about how transforming management, sponsorships, and athlete representation is taking place in the digital era. We welcome you, Axel, to the podcast.
Hello, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Absolutely. So, let's jump on to my first question for you.
All right.
How has the digital media changed the way brands approach sports sponsorships?
Yeah, I think it has changed a lot and is changing actually all the time, like new trends and social media and what generation uses what platform and how you can reach the customers or consumers that you are trying to reach as a brand. So I think on top of that, it's a lot about the streaming and broadcasting, and that's changing to engage more closely with the fans and trying to use actually the data from the media and digital media and streaming and broadcasting to try to find the right consumers for you and the fans and trying to understand them and that's the big change. Like if you are able to utilize the data and trying to understand who you are trying to reach and how, then I think you can get best results as the brand, and that's still something that brands are constantly learning. It's like some do it well, some don't, and some have understood that actually you can use, for example, athletes or something to engage with their clients and trying to use even like up and coming athletes and their social media. You can use for a very good, like it's much cheaper and it's a good investment to, for example, work with an athlete that's an up and coming rather than maybe a superstar if you don't have the budget, because with the lower budget you can still make really good or have a good presence in the media through for example athletes or a sports organization, and that's something I think is changing. But obviously um, brands are learning this still, because they many of the brands still think that you have to pay, or the only way to work with is a superstar or a really big athlete and it will cost you a fortune. But that's not true. This
That's
that the
not true.
media has changed that you can do much more.
True. So, these days in this generation, everything is about reels, shorts, Instagram reels or YouTube shorts, or quick TikToks or snapshots. So, how has is sports evolving in that? Like, Is it going to be the next thing into the sports industry?
Yeah, I think we're trying to, I think like the streaming and betting side and more having the fans feel that they are closer or the closer to the athlete, and that's how the brands can use the athletes, and that's the way also that the brand should focus on, I think, to try to have the athlete engage with the audience and trying to really have a, let's say, close relationship. The fans think that they know the athlete really well because of different kind of shorts platforms, posts, videos, documentaries. Then the other thing is like in-game engagement at home or actually at the game, how you can feel more close to actually the athletes in the sport. So yeah, it's changing, but it's interesting to see what's the upcoming years or how it will look like, because I don't think many people have guesses, but we don't really know it's gonna happen, because if we look at how these trends go with social media, it's like it's changing a lot. Like
It's
2 years back, it's different than now. So we don't know exactly how the next generation will use, for example, social media, or which one, or is there a new platform that
true.
will rise and take over? We don't know.
True. So, like, what are the key metrics is brands now prioritize when evaluating the ROIs?
Yeah, I think like that's a question depending a lot, like a different what the brands are, but obviously most of the brands, they want value from a partnership, for example, with the sports organization or with an athlete, and what that their investment will bring back to them can be a lot of different things, but obviously one of the core things are growth, revenue, and say like sales through, so that they can see if they are working with the athlete, that the athlete is giving them, for example, more visibility, and that's bringing direct sales into the company or more revenue. But then, of course, there is other things that can be seen as very important. It can be that you're working with an up and coming athlete and you want to be part of the journey of them trying to become the top athlete or top player in the world, whatever sport it is, and being part of the journey and building, let's say, a storyline or storytelling around that and being connected. So I think it can be also return on investment in a way that your brand image is much better, that you work with an athlete. And that can be, for example, through a questionnaire or something with your fans or with your clients, and see if an athlete's that you're working with an athlete, does that give you a better brand image? Or so there's a lot of different things that you can do, and I think it's about finding the right strategy into what you're looking for, but you have to also be realistic. So
Absolutely.
combining all of these things and actually using the data,
True, true,
look at
true.
how much, for example, if an athlete does social media posts, how do they perform? What kind of consumers do they reach? And then you can use that data also to your advantage for future collaboration and strategies.
True. So, like, when you're talking about athletes, like, how do smaller or niche organizations, how can they attract big sponsorships into this competitive market right now?
I think it's about, if we're talking about sports organizations or athletes, also it's about how you can differentiate from the bigger, let's say, they are competitors. There are
Correct.
other athletes or sports organizations, because they are also trying to attract sponsors and find new revenue streams and things like that. But yeah, it's about trying to use your smaller organization to your advantage, because you can usually maybe do more, a bit more innovative or more mobile and flexible things. For example, using your social media team to do more fun stuff or something like, which differentiate in social media, which will attract more views, which will obviously give you more visibility. And when we go back to look at, okay, how are you going to do that? Well, you need, of course, a good team,
True,
good people, good employees. That's the most important, I would say.
true.
And how to attract those big ones? You have to have a good sales team too. And building those relationships. Those relationships take years of work, and that will at the end bring you hopefully the result you're looking for.
So, like when you were talking about strategies, like how can one create personalized and effective strategies for sponsorships?
Yeah, I think if we're talking about tech, I think it's about obviously having the good people in your company and the team. Let's say if we're talking about marketing strategies or how you want to take forward your brand in social media and sponsorships, then you have to have obviously a good team to identify what you are looking for, what are you trying to have at the end of the sponsorship deal. Let's say if it's a long-term 2-year deal or something. What are you looking for? What are the metrics you are looking at? And then giving, of course, and finding the right athlete and sports organization that understands those values and that both are on the same page. And I think if you have a good team, and if we talk about tech, there is AI that can be used a lot, and I think AI is still in the beginning, but it's evolving really fast, and it will be a good tool to use. But of course, you will have to have
So,
a
like,
good people
can
who
AI
know
make
what to
person?
do and how to use it.
Absolutely. So, like, is it possible that AI can bring personalization into brand sponsorships or making defining strategies for the athletes? Is it possible?
Yes. It's possible, and I think the best one is a combination. The
Okay.
right people who know how to use AI to their advantage and, for example, build strategies. Whatever strategy is it? A personal brand strategy for an athlete, the work we do, for example. Do we use AI? Yes, we use AI to our advantage, but we are not doing, AI is not doing all the work. It's a tool for us to bring more ideas to the table that can be used, and then we develop a strategy around that. So I think maybe in a few years we don't know how good AI is going to be, and that's interesting to see if how personalized, for example, a campaign could be built from a brand to an athlete to looking at the data of how the campaign, for example, performed.
Absolutely. So, like when we are talking about this, like according to you, what are the biggest challenges in maintaining long-term relationships for brand partnerships into the industry?
I think the core challenge to how to maintain is you have to understand each other from the beginning.
Okay.
What are you trying to deliver as an athlete to the sponsor? And the same way, what are the expectations from the sponsor? So, of course, you can try to sell and, oh, sponsor me, this will happen and this, but if it's not realistic and the both parties don't understand each other, it's most likely there's going to be dissatisfaction, maybe from the athletes towards the sports organization or the sponsor, or the other way around. And that's maybe having realistic goals that's set together, and understanding, okay, this is what we're trying to do, and then following, of course, the data, how it's performing. Potentially during the sponsorship relationship, let's say a 2-year deal or something. Let's analyze during these 2 years how it's working. Can we do some changes together and not stick with what we have come up with the first day we started a partnership? Maybe it's better to try to utilize, for example, or use the athlete in a different way. Let's negotiate if we can do some changes or something like that. So I think it's about communicating the right way, having the right expectations both ways, and then building the relationship between athletes
Okay.
and the sponsor. Like trying to, because of course, as a manager, I can be in between and take care of everything, but then the athlete doesn't feel that connected to the sponsor doesn't feel that connected to the athlete. But if we can bring them together, maybe using them at a company event, at customers, or trying to bring in the athlete there to to enjoy a afternoon with the team, company team, or something like that, it makes a huge difference, because then the sponsor feels like they really know the person, the athlete, so they feel that they are more connected. And when you
Absolutely.
feel that you're more connected, it's more difficult to to end a relationship.
So when you were talking about relationships between a sports agency or an agent and an athlete and a manager, like has it evolved or is it in the evolving phase at present? Like how is it?
Of course, it's evolved. I would say, like agents and managers and that side of the business for athletes, it's through the years it's become more professional, I would say, and that's we're still doing that. That's what we are trying to change with our company and the work we do with our athletes. It's that we are doing everything very professionally and having that really close relationship with the athlete. So I think that has changed a bit. Of course, um, the growth of sports, growth of athletes, the amount of athletes or young kids who want to become professional athletes in almost all the sports, it has grown uh, through the years. So that means there is a bigger demand for managers and agents, and it has the amount of agents and managers has to grow, of course, with it. And if not, it will mean that a lot of athletes will be without managers, or then they will have a manager who has 300 athletes to manage, and we know how that's going to end.
And
Of course, we don't know 10 years from now how the digital world and tech maybe will come up with the solution that will help, for example, managers to manage athletes more effectively, and this way give a
absolutely.
good service and performance towards their clients.
Absolutely. So, like when you were discussing about this, what are the key factors according to you, like, to determine an athlete's marketability just beyond, playing or staying on the field? What is it?
Yeah, I think if we're not just looking at the performance, like many many brands do, maybe look at only that they have the image that the only brand or only athlete you could work with is this top performer, or who's already very highly ranked. But that means you are totally not looking at the social media side or media presence. Do they have traditional media presence or social media? And that's nowadays really cool that you're able to really work with athletes that are not yet performing on the highest level, but they still have really good marketability, for example, through their social media and their story. So you can be, as a brand, connected to that kind of athlete, and be part of the athlete's journey in a different way. And I think that's what we are looking in the marketability is are the athletes, for example, ready to do the work for on the off court? Because many athletes they love the sport, they just want to do the sport. But if we're looking at marketability, then you have to do work towards your social media presence, your brand, and trying to do interviews, podcasts, doing a lot of different things, uh, collaborating with other athletes or influencers. So like it's a big world out there, and I think it's just about the ones that are ready to utilize their media and do the work there. They have the advantage in marketability also later on when they are, for example, performing better on field.
So, like when we talk about this, how is AI and data analytics, helping agencies identify potential athletes and their commercial value? Like, what is the role of AI and data analytics in that?
Yeah, I think there's probably a lot of different ways agencies do it. I think we nowadays we have more and more data also to look at how the athlete is performing. We're not only talking about, let's say, if we look at scouting, then of course all the results, everything back to I don't know 20 years or something, you can find usually that depending on the sport, but you can usually find how the athlete has performed and how what the story is there. So that's again data and I think the prediction part, that's the difficult thing because that's a lot about the person, the athlete, how they
Mm.
are. Do you feel that they are ready to do the work, or what is their attitude towards the work? Is it realistic, or are they just talking about I want to do this, but then when it comes to the hard work, it won't be done. So that's predicting with AI. I think those tools will develop in the upcoming years, and it's going to be interesting to see uh,
Absolutely.
how those things can be done. But I think in identifying athletes and finding athletes and maybe the commercial potential, um, there is ways to utilize the AI part, but it's still a lot of it depends on the athlete. Like if I'm talking with an athlete, then I have to have the right feeling of it's a bit of a like a gut feeling, but of course you can't only go with the gut because you have wrong. Your gut is wrong also. Data is facts also.
Data is facts. Agree on
So, but
that. Data is facts.
yeah,
So, like, on the other side of the coin, what are companies, like, what are the mistakes or challenges for that matter companies are doing while they are structuring sports partnerships with athletes or teams or leagues?
yeah, I think I would go back to maybe what I told about earlier about the relationship side and understanding the athlete, um, and the athlete understanding the brand, so that we are on the same page constantly. And if there is an issue, it's taken care of. So I think that's the most important part. Um, just having a clear goals, clear deliveries that the athlete needs to do, towards the sponsor, and of course the manager's job is to make sure that the athletes do
Okay.
those things.
So like,
Without that,
true, true, true. So like, what is the next big thing for athletes? Like, what do you see happening? Big disruptors in the next 3 years or 5 years from athlete point of view.
I think more and more, if we look at young athletes, is how to use, for example, social media and media presence more effectively to build your own brand before you are actually performing on the field. I think that's a huge thing that athletes should focus on and or be focused on, and I think then they will come, of course. There are already a lot of services, digital services, on how to track your performance, like when you're training and how you eat, how you sleep, how everything like that is you're able to gather data. And that's if you have the right team around you to analyze it, as the managers or other performance um, professionals in your team. I think that will change, and it's already changed, but I think it's going to evolve even further.
So, like
Um,
when you are into this industry, like how do you see young athletes? Like are they becoming interested into sports? Are they willing to continue, like, when they are in their teens and when they are growing up, like looking at a role model, or how is that the situation?
mm, well, that's of course there's young kids that do the sports and the sports grow. But of course it's alarming uh, that research showed that a lot of young kids don't move around or
Yeah,
just as an hobby, and that's also maybe the digital world taking over, but that's of course concerning. And I think that's why many of these brands, for example, with professional athletes work with, that's the message they're trying to get out. So that's a good example on how to maybe use an athlete um, to their as a positive brand image, because the message is not, oh, buy this service or trying to sell the service. It's more about doing good, which will most likely result in growth on the revenue side because uh, consumers like that.
absolutely. So, like, a last question for you, Axel, is that like you are into the industry, like, you're working with athletes from such a long time. So, what are two, three things you see which, like, which are prominent, which are good for them, and, which are the things which they need to improve, like, for their personal branding, for sponsorships, or overall?
Yeah, I think it's about building a strategy around from junior years. If that's the goal of becoming professional, then that's one part. Uh, having um, having the strategy around the marketing side and social media, but then it's about having the right team around you so that you can perform well on the field or on the court. So that's if you don't have your coaches, fitness coaches, or physios, or uh, masseuse, or all these, for example, doctors or around you to take care of you, then it will be more difficult to, of course, achieve those dreams on field. And then when we come to maybe the financing part of the careers, which is the big question and difficult part, it's very expensive to travel around the world to try to become, for example, professional or achieve a very high level where you will start earning good amounts of money. So there, I think we will see some new innovations around that field, the financing athletes. That's something I'm looking forward to, and of course the marketing side and having a good team to sell what you're selling as an athlete.
Absolutely. So, like, we'll move on to the next segment of the podcast. That's rapid
Okay.
fire round. I'll ask you a few questions. You will have to be quick in answering.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay.
Who is your favorite athlete? Legend, past, present, anyone. Name one.
Tiger Woods.
Okay. One athlete who has mastered personal branding.
Um, an obvious one is someone like LeBron James, but I will say an F1 driver, Valtteri Bottas. Uh,
True.
he's if you look into it, he's mastered that one. Yeah,
He has. Data or gut instinct? What's more important, securing partnerships?
I think both, or a mixed. I would say having
Mo-
use the data and then use your guts to based on the
abs-
data.
Absolutely. Most underrated factor in an athlete's marketability.
Um, being part of their story, the storytelling, I would say.
True. If you could represent any athlete in the history, who would it be?
Um, I would say Tiger Woods.
Okay. What's the future of NIL deals? Long-term game changer or short-term hype?
I believe it's already been a game changer, but I think it's in long term we'll see it evolve even further.
Okay. If you had to have dinner with one athlete, past, present, or legend, who would it be?
Excuse me?
If you had to have dinner, if you get to have dinner with an athlete who is a legend, past or present, who would it be? Not Tiger Woods. Name someone else.
Um, Rafael Nadal.
Okay. Like one emerging revenue stream in sports that excites you the most.
Um, athlete investments is actually a good how, for example, fans could engage with new up and coming athletes by investing in them rather than just betting. I think that's a very interesting, and it's NFTs or crypto. That side, there is already some solutions out there, but I think that's a part that will grow. You can be even closer to the athlete
Okay.
as a
Okay.
fan.
Okay. Now we'll move on to the next. You will have to answer this question into 30 seconds. Like,
Okay.
what is the role of AI into transforming management, sponsorships, athlete representation?
I think the role is about learning constantly how AI is evolving and how you can use it because it's difficult to understand how you can use it because it's getting better and better. So you have to stay on top of it and try to, for example, use some tools and see if you could use it. And I think that's how we are doing it. And I think all people in sports, in management or sponsorship deals and things like that, you can really have good ideas and use that AI to your advantage, but don't lean on it too much in a way where you leave your brain out because that will of course potentially mean that you have some same ideas that the other ones have and you
True.
have to try to differentiate.
True. Thank you. Thank you, Axel, for the insights and joining us today.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure to talk to you, and hopefully we will do some interesting things in the future too.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, everyone, let's stay connected for understanding more on sports and technology in the future. Like, please share this video with your friends, families, and the people who love sports technology. We will meet in the next episode next week. Till then, stay curious, stay inspired, and keep exploring.